Hi, today I'm going to be showing you one of my more complicated wraps that I like to wear. My typical style is very plain, usually only one scarf and maybe a headband. This is actually going to be using 3 scarves. So today I'm going to be using 3 of the 2-in-1 scarves from Rapunzel. They're a great option from Rapunzel. They're thin enough that they can be layered without adding a lot of bulk, but they're also opaque enough that they can be worn by themselves. And what you want to do is to put it on your head so that you have one very short side and one very long side. Most of the wraps that I do will start kind of in the middle, but this one you want significantly offset. And I like to tie it, that's too short. I like to tie it so that the tail of this one hits right above my natural waist. That's going to be a good length for me with this length scarf, but with this style, it's best to just play around with it. And then one thing you want to make sure is that you decide which side you want the dangling tail of the final wrap to be on. This wrap is going to have a dangling side. And so you need to start with your short side opposite from where you want it to be. That way when they cross in the back, you have one long side and one short side. So once the first one is on and you've made sure that you're covering your entire shaper, you're just gonna put the other 2 on at the same length. And you don't have to be quite as careful with these because they're not doing the job of also covering your shaper. So it's a little long. And then getting these set the length you want is the hardest part of this. Typically, especially when I first started doing it, I would redo this part 2 or 3 times before I finally got them where I liked. But that just comes with practice. Don't be intimidated if it takes a couple of tries. It is no big deal. And then my 3rd scarf. And again, I want all of the tails to end up the same length. So I'm just being aware of that when I tie. And remember, you can always go back and change it. Super easy. So, all right. So, got my short tails over here. All 3 of my scarves laying pretty flat on my head. And then I got my long side. So this is now the fun part. I'm going to take all 3 and braid them. And I'm going to braid them pretty loosely. The tighter you braid these, the more they're gonna sit up on your head. And with 3, it's gonna be a pretty decent amount, even if you tie them loosely. I don't like a ton of plumage on the top of my head. So I like stuff closer, but if you like a more dramatic style, that's totally great for you, and you should definitely do it as big as you want. All right, so as you could see, I braided them all the way down and flipped them over. Line it up with where on my shaper I want it to fall. I like it more in the back. Some people like it more in the front. That's really your call, but I like it more in the back. And then here is a little bit of the tricky part. So once you've got these 3 tails, you take your 3 tails that are in and up on the other side and match the colors up and braid. So basically what we're doing here, no, wrong one, is making like a fake French braid. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3 that lined up really nicely, which is lucky. It doesn't always. That makes it a little bit more complicated. But from there, you just keep on going. And continue the braid out. It gets kind of thick here. So that's just something to be aware of, but at this point I don't think it matters so much. And then I just use a hair tie. You can do a lot of things to tie off the end, but I don't mind with just a hair tie. And voila, this is your faux French braid wrap. Thanks.